Welcome to Suthichai Live English. My guest today, an old friend, has been devoted to doing business in Thailand and also a very concerned citizen of Thailand. I'm going to ask him to talk about education because I know he's very passionate about education, especially in Thailand. And what personally, he has also been involved in trying to upgrade education levels, quality, especially in the English language area. So Walter Lee, my good friend, is here and to tell us what he thinks about Thailand in general, what he likes about this country, and what he thinks we should do to be able to become more competitive in the region. สวัสดีครับ Walter. Hi, Walter.
สวัสดีครับพี่สุทธิชัยครับ
Right. Tell us about who you are first. Those who are watching us now, of course, would like to know who is this guy that Kun Suthichai has asked to be the guest today.
Yeah, very dear old friend. My name is Walter Lee, otherwise known as Chef Honey.
Chef.
Chef. I hail from the island of Penang, Malaysia.
Yes.
And Thailand is my sixth country of residence. I came here in 1989.
Wow.
And I've been here for 35 years now.
Wow, 35. And you know, Walter speaks very good Thai as well, but he's not allowed to speak Thai today. So you have been in business, and you know the wasabi, you know your chef business has been your main occupation, your main profession. But how did you get interested in education?
Well, life is for me our heritage, if you may, on my mother's side goes back about 500 years ago. The Peranakan Baba Yaya. So since anyway, we will leave this for another day. So I grew up kind of like in the environment of a kitchen.
Yes, kitchen.
I was playing walks and before I was playing guns. Yeah. So my journey around the world has brought me very close to different kinds of cuisines and I think my curiosity around the world has just taught me a lot of things, and the entrepreneurial part of me made me kick off my career or my entrepreneurial career here in 1994. And this is 30 years now, 30 years ago.
Right.
So I've been in the food business, primarily in the seafood and in the wasabi business, in the restaurant business, in the culinary school business. So yes, we being a Taurian, I suppose, when stubborn people, when people tell you it cannot be done and you say you want to bet.
And you bet.
Yeah, so I think we are probably the purveyors of probably when we were told that wasabi cannot be processed or grown when I was taught that real wasabi cannot be processed or grown in this part of the world. Today our brand is sold in over 20 countries around the world. So and we are proud of being MIT, made in Thailand.
MIT, huh?
So I think my professional career took a abrupt disruptive change in 2006 when my third child was born.
Yes.
Nong Sai was born with only one left arm. And 3 limbs missing and 2 dislocated hips. I think that was a point in life that from a commercial entrepreneur, I moved. I sort of like altered career path into a social entrepreneur. And the journey because of that, I also wrote 2 books, of which one became a bestseller. about my journey with my son.
Yes,
I've
yes.
always been into, culinary arts and science and then education, but that was abrupt turn that made me uh believe that more it opened up my eyes to see things that I've never seen before about the other part of humanity or mankind that was different than us, which I today call them the differently able people, not disabled, but differently able.
Differently abled people. Okay.
Right. So yeah, my journey with my family and my, caring for my folks, and with my differently able son, brought me around the world to look at how I could juggle everything
Wow.
and to achieve, I suppose, the common goal of everybody, which is happiness. So that pushed me into understanding maybe a little bit of a history buff myself. Everything I touch or get interested in, it's nice to, like in our school, for example, we teach our student to understand as a process of learning rather than memorizing. So education brought me to, understand a little bit more about our history, basically. So
Right.
education today, I mean, that was 2006 was 17, yeah, 18 years ago. So this child that the doctors around the world said will never stand and walk, is currently tomorrow, as a matter of fact, competing in the European Open Para Swimming Championship and will be competing in this year's Paralympics in Paris.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
It's not a kudo for him, but it's what, when people get together and put their minds together, what can be achieved, really, um, with harnessing technology today. So so when your question came up, what's wrong with the Thai education? I don't think education in Thailand is wrong,
No.
nor any country for that matter. But education is like, it should be, in my opinion, like a living organism. It has to evolve. In my opinion, Thai education, maybe the bulk of it hasn't evolved enough or fast enough to keep up with times of what is happening in this disruptive age of ours.
Right.
So the whole, we are in the midst, in the I think it's especially at this time, or this past 10 years, if you may, of the of the AI and expert and big data, and all the technological advancement
Right.
that causes a lot of disruption in just about
Everything.
every facet of humanity, causes us to think seriously, where are we heading towards. And it was particularly interesting because it caught me in a time that I was faced with all these challenges about bringing, while I was bringing up, aging parents,
Yeah.
and so a child with only one arm. And at one time, a very challenging uh, 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 business condition as well. So um, so as I was saying, the education part, I think we have the availability of technology today has gone exponential, whilst I question if the urge to attain, to acquire, or the hunger has grown
Fast.
proportionately. I don't think it has. So whilst the technology has grown exponential, I think the maybe the necessity, technically it's supposed to be a platform to close the gap for the no and the low no less, but it might actually have widened the gap because the availability has grown exponential while the need or the hunger to acquire has still been linear. So actually the gap might actually be growing larger and larger. For the people who's innately curious and hungry for knowledge or education, with or without technology, they will still get there.
Yeah.
And for the people who would always look for excuses, they will always keep on looking for excuses.
Right.
So the challenge, with in education, Thailand is the only country that has never been colonized in Southeast Asia. Is that good? Is that bad? It depends on the perspective we are looking at.
Right.
So it has the education system since King Rama V has evolved organically, if you may, without any serious much interruption. And education for each country or I believe has got to be, or in my personal saying, is not what we have, but what we are capable of utilizing what we have to get us to where we want to go.
Right.
So the challenging part here, I think the herd mentality. I mean, for example, if I look at the Thai education system,
Yes. Right. Yes.
So if I look at the Thai education system, or the concept of international schools, for example, I think the international school started in Thailand, like maybe about 40 plus years ago.
Yeah.
The whole concept of international school, for example, actually started at the beginning of the 20th century.
Where?
So I believe it was in Europe. I believe it was Switzerland and then Japan. And so it was primarily for diplomats,
Foreigners, children,
foreigners, for missionaries, for military. But what is curious enough for me is, why is today the number of international schools mushrooming in Thailand or in this part of the world? I believe my last count is Thailand has about 160 plus international schools.
160, huh? That's a lot.
Now, if we were to look from the outside in, international schools, the concept of international schools is basically it's a bridge, if you may, for people who doesn't live there. So when they go back, or people has got a different view of like world citizenship, for example, or pluralism, for example, maybe a little bit similar with the concept of international baccalaureate IB system in the 60s.
All right.
But is something like this right or compatible for Thailand?
Right.
Now, the fact that if it seems like if you go and talk to a Joe Blow on the streets in Thailand, the perception would be international schools is superior to local schools.
Yeah. Okay.
So my question then is, why would international schools be superior? Why is it so expensive? If we trace back, isn't education and healthcare the basic rights of humanity? So I think, in my opinion, of my little understanding of the curriculum, I believe it is quite rather different from the local curriculum or the syllabus. So when Thai or when parents send their kids to international school, do parents actually are parents actually clear that after 12 years of basic education, when the kids come out, and will they be ready for the world, as opposed to what is being offered only today, now? So I believe there are a lot of challenges. I mean, what is the concept of, I'm not saying that, in my opinion, it's a different kind of a syllabus, but as I was referring to, it should be more country centric, if you may, need centric, if you may, speed of evolution centric, if you may, of what education should be like. And it right now it almost feels like, and I could be wrong, that people are going to, quote unquote, selecting schools based on their understanding of maybe how good a PR school has done,
Right.
without having a deeper understanding, maybe. And that's what I think. For us, what we're trying to do is going back to the basics, if you may. Now, going back to the basics, meaning with all this exponential technology and everything, today it's not about if you will have a mobile phone or not, because we almost cannot live without a mobile phone.
Right.
And constant round the clock connectivity. The world is definitely shrinking, if you may. So you can get free education online if you want to study an engineering degree at the age of 12 or 13 years old. So that's disruptive.
Yeah.
Educators are thinking, I mean, this is for the first time ever that the student can openly question the teacher that, sir, madam, I think what you said is not right.
Yes. And the students may know better than the teachers, because
it could be. So what is then the basics then? I mean, if we do not evolve, then we would. I think the Chinese idiom is kind of like when you're rowing your canoe against the current, you don't stay stagnant. You either go forward or you go backwards.
Right.
In the law of relativity. So even AI, for example, or even Google, for example, right? I mean, the algorithm or the basis behind it is written by people of vastly different culture, Eastern culture and Western culture, for example. Even mainstream media today, if you look at the same incident, that what is being reported in the East and the West, it's sometimes even of a completely different angle.
Yes.
So I think the necessity to educate our future generations to have the ability to think for themselves, to understand, to think, and hence to make decisions, as opposed to being spoon-fed and being stuffed with information that might or might not be correct, or might not be necessary. It's the challenge that educators should think of.
Now, Walter, if you were the education minister of Thailand today, if you were put in charge of signing Thailand's education policy, taking into consideration all the factors that you have mentioned, the disruption, technology, AI, availability of information, social media, the gap between the haves and have not, and children going to international schools in Thailand, and children who go to a remote school up in the north or northeast. With all these factors being taken into consideration, how should the Thai education system be redesigned? I wouldn't say designed, because there have been thousands of committees set up with proposals, with conclusions, with plans and all this, but all of those, I think, have been disrupted. Now, if you were to start all over again, if you have the advantage of a new beginning, where do we start?
There's no political or any criminal repercussion in my answer, right?
No, we as people who live in a country where we believe in the freedom of expression, and also the fact that we express our concern sincerely without vested interest or without any political bias. Go ahead.
I think for me, if it's I would look at, now this is Thailand, so I would look at the history of Thailand, the evolution of, since the different dynasties from Sukhothai until Ratanakosin, until Chakri, until now.
Yes.
Historically, how are we different? The composition, the makeup of the Thai population, the geopolitical, where do we see ourselves amongst our brethren in ASEAN, in Asia Pacific, and globally, and where do we want to go? I think if I were to have a free hand, our children should be at least trilingual.
Trilingual, huh?
A reason for trilingual, and the three languages would be English, Thai, and Chinese. To equip them the fundamentals or basics of navigating their lives into the future. And noted now that we pick up our phone and then we instantaneously get gratified by the information that we are looking for.
Yeah.
Now, if you search in a Eastern platform, like a Chinese platform, with a Western platform, you get a little bit different answer. So the mastery of the language is necessary, and because we are Thailand, of course, to understand the culture and the history and the beginnings of this country, Thai is necessary. And because English is I suppose a default lingua franca globally.
Yeah.
So yes, the necessity of English. Bilingual itself, because without the language, on the same platform, for example, you get two people searching for the same results. You get different answers on the same platform, and it has to do with the depth of knowledge and your experience of searching, etc., etc. And the medium to achieving all of that is the mastery of the language. And I said to do this as soon as possible. The brain works very differently. Language is about acquisition. It's not about learning. We all speak our mother tongue without having to learn. I mean, so figure it out. Even the most complicated or most difficult grammatically language in the world, like maybe a Greek or Russian or a Germanic language, because grammatically,
Yes.
grammatically, it's complicated, but although tone-wise is not. None of any newborns in the world have to learn the mother tongue.
No.
So because that's how the mind is being wired, how the cells are the neurons are being wired. So it is very easily achievable if the child is start young. From the country or the hometown that I come from, in Penang, for example, or in the southern Thailand, for example, where you're from,
Mm-hmm.
And to people speak easily, 3, 4 languages.
Yeah, or dialects. In Hat Yai, where I grew up, you
Right,
understand Teochew, Hakka, Cantonese, Southern dialect, Thai, and
right.
yeah, and English because you're across Malaysia. You know, easy.
So the fact that if you have the tool, if we have the tool to navigate our search
Mm-hmm.
or our quest
Mm-hmm.
for 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 acquiring further knowledge in order to quest to satisfy even our innate curiosity or our need to further acquire more knowledge, you
Mm-hmm.
need language. So
Yes.
that's what I would do first. I mean, STEAM, your science, technology, engineering, arts, whatever. Without language, you cannot communicate. If you cannot communicate, you cannot acquire.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's what first things first. I would think, and the fact that because we are not an isolated nation, because
Mm-hmm.
geographically, north, south, east, west, everything crosses here in Thailand. So in terms of education, I would, yes, first to push for
Mm-hmm.
uh trilingual basis
Right.
for
Mm-hmm.
the children.
Mm-hmm. And how are you going to use AI, new technology, to improve the standard of Thai education? Because you talk about trilingual curriculum. Already AI can help. You may.
AI doesn't. Now, I would use it for the person to acquire the ability to the mastery of the language.
Mhm.
AI doesn't mean that, I would do instant translation, because until if you subscribe to the concept of singularity,
Yeah, yeah, single.
right?
Yes.
It will take another 30, 40 more years if we should get there, where the computer will be able to work faster than our brain.
Right.
Um, but having also said that, we believe that AI, either through um, augmented reality, to create an environment. I mean, I okay, the
Mm,
children in the Mediterranean states,
mm,
Southern Europe, Northern Africa,
mm,
they are capable of many languages, but primarily of the Latin base. So they can speak French, they can speak Spanish, they speak English, they
mhm,
speak Italian. It's all Latin based. But just cross the border and go to your hometown, my hometown, for example, and they do English, Malay, Chinese, which is from 3 different roots. Chinese is a different root of linguistics,
yeah.
has a different linguistic root, and then Chinese, and then Malay. So if we duplicate that process here, like in Thailand, so we could have Thai,
Mhm,
Chinese, and English.
mhm, mhm,
And the reality is, if we study the model of something like that that's happening in our neighboring, with our neighbors, and see how why is today Malaysian graduates are one of the most highly sought after
mhm,
human resource in the world, is because the mastery of 3, 4, or 5 languages,
mhm,
and also especially to see that um, um, well, I think it's at least for the next few decades, or maybe nobody knows beyond the second half of this century, but the next few decades, uh, obviously China and the more Anglophilic countries are going to be the major powers of the world,
mhm,
economic and both otherwise. So the necessity to understand the language,
mhm,
it's of even more paramount importance.
mhm. Well, look at our neighbors, Vietnam. Recent,
Vietnamese don't speak English.
but they
Just like Thais don't speak English, in my opinion.
they speak better English now. If you go to Vietnam, you meet all these young people. They speak.
Right.
Some of them speak.
I think if there's anything at fault, is the way the pedagogy, or how language is being how is being taught, for example. or like the Chinese or the Koreans or the Japanese, yeah, they will have a second language. They will have English as a second language. But when you teach a child like 5 hours of English per week, and they go back home and they never utter another word of that language, and you can do that for 20 years and you will still not get anywhere. So
Ah,
like so everybody is taught English in Chinese in Thailand, for example. But when you engage when we engage a a Thai, an average Thai in English, you're not gonna get anywhere.
no, no. I know. It's practice and it's the
Right.
and
So so the acquisition part of languages, I think, has got to be, uh, in my opinion, most countries have gotten it wrong
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because we don't learn. And see the difficulty the difficulty in acquiring a language becomes more and more difficult as we become older.
That's true. That's true.
So I
Mm,
speak 8 languages and dialects. So and that's because of it. What it's not because I'm extra smart, but it's just because of the environment that I grew up in,
mm,
that we are used to, and and maybe there are certain character in a person that maybe you're more, you are thrown in a capacity that you need to interact more with people of different dialects or whatever, or languages, and that's how it's being acquired.
yeah, you're not born with a special DNA a skill with languages, no?
No. I think I do 8. Most of my friends do 5 or 6. So
Mm.
how is that possible? I mean, it's and it is just cross the border. It's I think it's pretty inexpensive now. It's cheaper to fly to Penang than to fly to Phuket.
Ah, yes. Yeah, that is bad news for a lot of time.
And
Okay.
and my hometown Penang is World Heritage. So UNESCO World Heritage site. Just go there and hang out with the people, listen to the folks, listen to the languages that's been exchanged on the streets. And then all of a sudden you realize, now I look back because I would say a grateful and naturalized Thai, if you may.
Yeah,
If the Thais, if Thailand today has the linguistics ability like the neighbors, I'm saying that yeah, you would, that would probably substantially contribute furthermore, maybe excess of what our current GDP growth is.
yeah, I think so. I agree with you. If we the educate Thai education is capable of making Thai kids speak more languages, then our GDP should be much higher. It would boost our potential and
I think
capacity.
it's also for security reasons. I mean, I grew up with a lot of Muslims, and if we dine together at a table, and problem starts when you don't know what the other person across the table is talking about. Is he bad mouthing you, or But if there's total understanding about, and
Mm.
that doesn't necessarily apply to the husband-wife relationship, right? Because sometimes it's better that you don't understand each other so you don't fight. But the it's security reasons. A lot of the times is because a lack of understanding of each other's, a lack of mutual understanding for each other's language, history, background, culture. A
That's true.
better understanding. So language would lead to a better understanding of
Mm,
a more efficient acquisition of knowledge.
mm,
Knowledge that then, if we hone it properly, then you could, something like I say, it's not what we know, but what we are capable of
mm,
using what we know to get us where we want to go.
mm, mhm. Tell me briefly about your idea of trying to set up an international school in Thailand with a link to your hometown.
I believe, Kun Suthichai, we in the state of northern Malaysia, or we are those days, maybe we thought we were challenged because the diaspora of the Chinese started coming to Southeast Asia because of, Opium War, because of different stages of war in China, whatever. So since 500 years ago, I mean, our forefathers came to Malaysia or Thailand, for that matter, with being very fearful, with the sole intention of making money or seeking their fortune down here and then returning back to China. Most of them never did make back to China. They made this part of the world their home.
Right.
But the fear of losing their culture, and this is because part of Confucianism,
Yeah. Right.
about how extended families and filial piety and everything, that the forefathers believed that the necessity of language is important to sustain, or to propagate, if you may, the inheritance, oh, sorry, inheritance, the heritage. So Malaysia today, if we talk about the average proficiency of Chinese, Malaysia rates #1 in the world.
Malaysia.
In terms of the proficiency and the quality of Chinese education outside of China. And I put Taiwan, and Taiwan as part of China.
Okay.
Now, now there is a reason behind that. It's not because they are extra smart or whatever. It's just that it's because Malaysia is one country, like Singapore, that the people of different races are allowed to keep their own original names without being nationalized. Like, so all Thais have Thai names, all Indonesians have Indonesian names, all Filipinos have Filipino names, but only Malaysia and Singapore, they keep, if you're of the Indian origin, then you use your Indian name, and if you're Chinese, and likewise.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it, that the education system it's sort of like has evolved based on the certain needs of the country's law and constitution.
Sure.
And because maybe those days Southeast Asia was primarily colonized by Europe. So, and especially the last colonial masters, if you may, were the British. Hence, a very strong, or maybe unjustifiably, maybe justifiably, a sense of Anglophilic. So this part of the world, most people would be, if you would be more pro, if you may, linguistics wise, English.
Right, pro English, right.
But the reality of things is, if you see how the world has evolved and has changed, China has got 5,000 years of history.
Yeah.
If our children cannot go to England or Canada or New Zealand, for that matter, I mean, don't write off China. There's 3,000 universities there as well, and a lot of areas that what the Chinese are doing in terms of automation, in terms of manufacturing, industrial, even AI, for that matter, cutting edge technology globally.
So what's your personal adventure into this?
We want to, well, I have because 15 years into my foundation, I have a little chip on my shoulder. I believe education and healthcare should be affordable.
Yes. Okay.
I said affordable. I didn't say free. So I mean, maybe a more socialistic approach is what Europe, I believe, is going through a lot of trouble now, because you make more money not working than you're working. So, and that's counterproductive in my opinion. But having said that, I believe that, education. So we are trying to do a trilingual school. We have a project right now that we are. The syllabus is ready. Everything's ready except we need a school. So if you help me find a school.
And a location. You mean
a
school?
location. We need a school to run our system that will be very affordable. It's a private school that is for everybody, that adheres and follows the requirements of the Ministry of Education of Thailand. Plus the way we teach English, plus the way we teach Chinese. Our measurable objective is 10 years of running this school, and I will show, or we would love to show to the country that we can show you, we could graduate you at least 3,000 children at the age of 12 years old that is fluent in 3 languages: Thai, English, and Mandarin,
Mandarin, and then it will
Chinese.
be based in Thailand. It will
It will
have
be based in Thailand. The reason we have set a target for ourselves because we are, if you may, we are maybe of more the STEAM engineering background. So we look at things that a little bit differently. Like we work on dashboards. And if you were to throw the question to me, Walter, why 10 years and why 3,000? I say, if we really want to make a difference, 10 years, 3,000 will give us a critical mass for it to exponentially grow. Education should be, I like to see, like in my whatever years that I have in this country, 20 years from today, 30 years from today, we have the bulk of the citizens being trilingual.
Why don't you apply for a new license? I think the current Prime Minister Kun Sethar would appreciate what you try to do. He's trying to invite foreign investment, and he knows that, having a school like that, producing Thai students speaking 3 languages will be important. Why do you have to
affordably? Can you set up a meeting for me with the PM? No, I'm serious. We're ready. We just do not have a physical school. Now, the question was, why don't we apply for it? Because, okay, this is for us, it's a light asset model. So from a financial perspective, we are more interested in running the school, in education, if you may, because there's 160 plus, like I said, international schools. And if we were to build a school from scratch, for example, the time and the resources required will be X times. And we believe the resources, primarily time and money, should be focused on education and not about the P&L. I mean, we said that we will not lose money, but we're not about making money. Our angel investors who have followed us together to build this program are a bunch of Thai industrialists who really believe that the whole education system in this country needs some serious revamping.
I'm sure if you go into Twitter, X, and the Prime Minister is available, he responds to all kind of questions. If you can write to him and submit a proposals, a concept, I'm sure he's going to respond one way or the other. And also, if I happen to have a chance to meet him or to contact him, I will introduce the idea and say, Walter Lee has been in Thailand for a long time. I'm sure he must have heard of you. So write up a proposal, and what you and I have been talking about in this program, write it up. No harm in drawing his attention to it.
We have a full presentation. I could do you a full presentation. I just need an opportunity. Give me 15 minutes, 10 minutes of the people that could make some changes, who would like to see some changes in this area, in the country, and for us to make a presentation.
Sure. Write up a written proposal and maybe a video clip that, very briefly, succinctly, and also brightly explains the concept. I'm sure it will get attention. Okay? I hope this conversation We also help to spark some interest, but do get in touch with the Prime Minister on X.
Twitter X. I will DM you on the site to get more information. But thank you. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because as an industrialist myself in this country with several businesses, the quality of the candidates that we are getting on a daily basis, it's honestly, it's quite appalling.
Really?
It's quite appalling, and I do not blame it on the candidates, because every leader in every country would say it starts with the education, with the basic education. So something is obviously seriously incorrect.
Right. Wrong.
Right. For the kids to be, I mean, we have the highest turnover rate of students of workers in this country. So a country of 69 million people, we have 30 million employed, and if 13%, highest in ASEAN, 13% of 30 million people is 3.9 million people. So 3.9 million people changing jobs on a yearly basis. And think about the amount of resources that is being wasted. So how is it that we are not competitive? So one of the things is better education in terms of IQ, EQ, I would get people to think about the objectives of where they really want to go, and how, would be the most effective way, a sustainable way of getting where they would want to go.
Yeah. Great, Walter. Thank you for chatting with me today, and I hope it will lead to something that is good for the country.
Thank you, Peter Suthichai ครับ
Thank you, Walter. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice weekend. สวัสดีครับ